it's Lauren here from Waking with Wellness. Now today I wanted to talk about one of the chakras in particular. So as some of you might know, I'm running a chakra yoga therapy course in October, and the chakras is an area that I'm really passionate about because it's really a way of kind of yoking together yoga and psychology, which are my two passions in life. And I'm actually here in Sardinia at the moment, and I'm teaching the class is themed around the different chakras. And so today was our 5th class, and we focused on the 5th chakra. And the 5th chakra is called visshudha, which means purification. The word vishuddha actually means purification, and it connects to the energy of the throat. So its physical association is the throat, the endocrine glands, and it really relates to our communication, both in terms of how we project ourselves into the world, how we use our voice, and also about listening. So these two really important pieces to the puzzle in communication, speaking and listening. So when we have a balanced energy in our 5th chakra, in Vishuddha chakra, we have a resonant voice. So our voice is nice to listen to. We are able to kind of ask for what we want, so we can clearly project our voice, and we speak with clarity, so we feel confident when we're speaking. It also connects in with our ability, again, to listen. So we also have the ability to listen actively to other people, and we take time in quiet, so we also have time to listen to inner sounds. And it also links to our creativity. So because the throat is one of the key ways that we express ourselves through our voice, it's really about how do we bring our creative energy into the world. If any of you have read the book The 4 Agreements, one of the principles in there is to be impeccable with your word. And so this idea that our words are so powerful. We only have to look back in history to see cases, in extreme, like Hitler, where he, through the power of his word, was able to convince people who were very, well educated to commit atrocious crimes through the power of word. And so, we just start to really shine a lens on this and think, how do I connect in with my voice? And so we can look at any chakra as being either excessive or deficient. So we all have a different kind of place where we might sit on this. So if we have excessive energy in the 5th chakra, we overtalk, right? We have a tendency to gossip, to interrupt. We just can't really listen. We constantly talk, but we find it difficult to actually allow someone else to speak. And so we're quite dominating with the voice. And often this actually comes, all of the chakras are connected, so while this might seem like someone's really confident, it might actually be coming from, say, a weakness in our 3rd chakra. We actually don't feel that confident, so we just use talking as a kind of compensatory strategy to make ourselves kind of feel better, so we don't have to kind of go in and we kind of avoid some of the other issues that we might be having. If we have deficient 5th chakra energy, then we have a weak voice, right? We find it difficult to express ourselves clearly. We find it difficult to put our feelings into words. We might feel like our creativity is blocked. And so this can be, especially if we kind of grew up in a family, if you grew up in a family where maybe there were a lot of secrets or lies. So telling lies is one of the things that really closes off the throat. It's kind of the opposite to the throat chakra is lying. So when we are in this kind of environment where maybe there were secrets, or maybe even, if we were told as children, like children should be seen and not heard, so we weren't given permission to really say how we feel, then this can lead to a closing off in the throat. So some of the ways we can work with the throat, and this is one of the topics that I'm most passionate about in yoga, because through my own experience working with the throat chakra has been a huge shift for me, because I used to find that I found it difficult to really express myself. I found that I would often use a lot of filler words, and I think I still do. I'm really conscious of it, or when I kind of look back, sometimes I can see, how I would always say or like, and this is a really common thing. But really thinking about how we can start to focus with clear intent about what we're saying. And also, in my own experience, I used to be the one, when we had groups or there was like a sharing circle, I remember it would kind of get round to me and I'd have all these ideas about what I wanted to say, but it wouldn't come out in the way I wanted it to. Like I had all of this story inside, and then when it came to it, it was like my voice just felt really blocked and I lost my words and I couldn't speak. And I used to look to people who, could share their experiences from depth and kind of be really jealous, because I kind of thought, well, I wish I could articulate myself in this way. And actually now I've really worked on this, and it's come not just from working with the throat. I do a lot of work, especially with the throat, which we'll talk about in a moment, but it's also about working from the ground up. So when we have our first chakra, our root chakra, is our sense of grounding, our sense of stability, and it also connects in with the body. So if physically our body is very constricted, then it can lead to a kind of constricted voice, like we can't fully get our words out because everything feels tight and closed off. The second chakra is about feeling and emotion and connecting with our feelings. And so if we're a bit closed off here, then our words kind of sound quite monotonous because they aren't really connected with our feeling. Our words sound quite mechanical when we speak. And then the third chakra, which is really closely connected with the throat, is our sense of will, our sense of self-determination and power, not in an aggressive way, but really knowing what we stand for and feeling confident in our own values. And so certainly for me, I found that when I could really get clear on this through especially that kind of act work around values and really exploring, what matters to you in your life, what do you want to stand for? When we can really step into that and own our own personal power, then it helps us to more freely be able to express ourselves, right? We kind of stop worrying so much about what other people think, because we allow ourselves just to be ourselves, our kind of true self. And so the words that then come up are more likely to be a true reflection of who we are. And also the heart chakra. So the heart chakra is about our breath, the element of air. So if we don't breathe properly, right, in our yoga practice, we're always focusing on really cultivating space with the breath and expansion with the breath. So if we're very closed off here, we're not breathing properly, then again, that's going to affect our voice. So what are some things we can do to help to clear energy in the throat chakra and help this energy to be more free-flowing? Well, one of them there, as I've kind of just said, is to work from the ground up. So we really focus on all of these different things. We focus on our physical body in our yoga practice, our breath. We think about our values. We really work to help our expression to be our truest kind of form of expression. So we're really speaking in a way that is true to ourselves. Another way is expressing ourselves in different ways. So any way that we can express how we feel is really important. So whether that might be through a talking therapy, whether it is through writing, whether it is just through having conversations with people and really kind of getting things off your chest. So, we all know that we feel better after we have got something off our chest, or even after we've had a good cry. There can be this literal sense of releasing when we kind of let go of some of the blockages that we've been holding on to. Another thing is silence and having quiet time. And one of the quotes by Anna Day Judith it goes something like, how can we find our inner quiet in a world filled with the roars of civilization? Like, our lives are so surrounded by sounds. Like, I'm in Sardinia and it's nice and peaceful, but this isn't that common, especially for people who aren't living by the sea or even just distractions in your life, family, other people, noises. And so we just really start to cultivate a sense of feeling the importance of quiet time. And for some people this can be really difficult because they feel like they constantly need to fill the time or need to fill the silence with sound, whether that's having some background TV or having the radio on, or even just mumbling to yourself all of the time. Just taking time to really try and make space for quiet reflection. So, maybe lighting some candles, reading a book, sitting in meditation, and really just finding the time to kind of go within in the quiet. And also then active listening. So notice, how do you relate to listening? Are you someone that always just wants to give advice? And of course there's a place for this, but sometimes, certainly in therapy, a lot of the work is holding space for someone to really feel like they're being heard. And so maintaining eye contact, mirroring back, this is what I've kind of heard. Is that what it's like for you? So we're kind of really helping that person to see that we've heard them, so that they really feel like they've been listened to, and this can really help us as well as other people in our relationships. Another really important thing is being able to ask for what we want. And so I think for many of us, we can, and I've certainly been here myself, and I see it in other people a lot, that we struggle to really ask for what we want, right? So rather than saying like, I'd really like to come and see you, could you come over? We might be like, oh, you're probably too busy for me to come over, aren't you? Or, something like that, where it's like, we kind of know what we want, but we're phrasing it in like a negative way. And actually it makes it quite confusing for the other person, because you're not directly asking for what you want. And there can be a fear, sometimes that might be a fear, for example, if you don't really ask for what you want, you maybe have a fear that, you don't want to put other people out, or that it's selfish. So we can start to acknowledge, well, what are some of the things that prevent me from actually asking for what I want? And it's not in like a greedy way. It's acknowledging that we have the right to ask for what we want, and we have the right to say no, right? And this is the same for other people. Other people have the right to ask for what they want, and we have the right to say no. They have the right to say no to us. And so I think when we can start to shift this and really practice asking, right? Sometimes, especially in our romantic relationships, we expect our partners just to kind of know what we're thinking, or, they should know what I want without me having to ask. But actually, this often isn't the case. So really practicing, how can I ask for what I want in a more clear and direct way? And then another way to do this, which is a really good way in our yoga practice, is through using the voice, through chanting. And so in yoga, there are lots of different chants that we can use. We can chant the sound of the chakras. Here in Sardinia this morning, we did a sunrise yoga practice, and we were chanting a chant that was all about, in the Sanskrit, kind of bringing us from darkness to light, from illusion to truth. So a lot of the words in Sanskrit are really beautiful and help us to not only work with voice to express, but they also have a meaning that is kind of planting a seed within us of, setting an intention when we're chanting sound. And also it really helps us to lengthen our breath, especially the exhale breath. So those that have done my 8-week yoga therapy course will know all about this kind of power of the long exhale breath in helping the body to kickstart the parasympathetic nervous system. And the simplest chant is the sound Om. And just noticing when you go to a yoga class, or even if you haven't, how you relate to using your voice. Because many people feel very self-conscious about using their voice. I've had lots of students who have said, when they've been younger, that they've been criticised for having a bad voice, or been told they're like tone deaf. And then they've kind of gone throughout their life holding on to this sense of, my voice, no one wants to hear what I have to say, or, my voice is bad or horrible or whatever. And so we really work with this. We kind of notice if something that we struggle with, actually we want to practice it more, because it's clearly telling us something there. And so the simplest is the sound Om. So we just chant the sound Om. 3 parts to the sound Om. So there's like an Ah, an O, and an So it's a really full breath and a full sound. And the sound Om, these 3 parts, the Ah, the O, and the together in yoga are kind of the a sound of creation, so there is a powerful vibratory sound. But also these three parts acknowledge the three parts of all life, of all creation, so the beginning, the middle and the end. So as we chant the sound on, we're actually kind of bowing down to all of the cycles within our life. And so, you know, even now, if you can, let's just chant the sound on together. So take a full breath in. And just doing this several times, so we can do it for like 5-10 minutes of chanting the sound Om. It's such a powerful practice, really helping us to breathe properly, to lengthen the breath and to connect into the vibration of sound. And then the final practice for the throat chakra is allowing yourself to express your creativity. So really just asking yourself like what the word creativity means to you. How do you allow yourself to be creative? And that is going to be different for everyone. So for me, I'm not particularly an arty person, but I've found in the past, and I really try to, with my yoga work, it really helps me to be creative. So, you know, moving the body, doing dance, thinking about sequencing, thinking about drawing ideas together, you know, rather than writing things in a very linear way, drawing kind of spider diagrams. And this for me is a more creative approach to kind of how maybe I used to work. But it may be through art, it may be through choir, a great practice for your voice, or anything else that just helps you to feel like you're really expressing yourself. And so those are just a few things to think about in terms of really opening up the space in the throat chakra. And always just remembering that whenever we're doing this work, we are working without judgment, right? And so we're kind of shining a light on where do I sit in this spectrum of, you know, balance energy here versus too much versus too little, and where might this have come from? And then we start to build a bigger picture, and we can start to really then tailor practices to heal us from within. So our subconscious mind actually starts to kind of rewire, and we can learn new ways of being, and really learn to work with our voice and with listening. So that's all for now. If you're interested in this stuff, you can find out more about my chakra yoga course that is starting on Monday the 17th of October in Bournemouth. You can go to awakingwithwellness.com/chakra/yoga/course. And yeah, I will speak to you soon. Bye.